welcome to episode 77 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best 90s Country Song. It's important to note that country's music expansion to FM in the 90s was aided by the U.S. Federal Communications Commission, and it's no coincidence that this docket led to bolster the genre's profile. The music became less about my wife ran away with my best friend and I miss him, and more about emotionally open experiences and nuances void from the guises of archaic, toxic stereotypes. While it's true that we inherit a fondness of music that shaped us during our formative years, you cannot deny that 90s country found an important balance, the perfect blend of traditionalism with that modern influx of pizzazz and production. You also have to consider that country lightened up in the 90s. We talk about current country music detractors and how someone like Merle Haggard would not put up with Luke Bryan's prancing and ass-gyrating theatrics, but 90s country carried some of that transition stigma that every generation has to endure. Country musicians were no longer stoic shit kickers. They now smiled, they ran around stage, they water skied in their blue jeans, they had mullets poking out of their hats, and no longer wore their hair in a pristine pompadour or bouffants. By the way, if your father had a pompadour like Conway Twitty, you have siblings you've never met, or so goes the meme. Let's not forget that the 90s saw the emergence of female artists. Talents like Reba McEntire, Faith Hill, Patty Loveless, Martina McBride, Shania Twain, the Dixie Chicks, they all emerged, and the female aspect of country music no longer rested solely on Dolly Parton and that horrible woman George Jones reference on He Stopped Loving Her Today. 90s country music was bigger than the song. Outrageous production, creative stage shows, record-breaking album sales. It was clothes, it was hairstyles, it was sexy tractors, it was a lifestyle. Yeah, and we all ate it up. And that's why this week, Formidable Opponents is talking Best 90s Country Song. As always, I'm joined by two guys who spend most every night beneath the light of a neon moon. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
Pizzazz, bouffant. Merle Haggard he'd be kicking your ass as well, sir.
What's going on, everybody?
What's up, guys?
Sometimes late at night, we're sipping on Wild Turkey 101, and I've been jamming the country for the past 4 days, so I feel really good right now. And my jeans are very tight.
So, guys, let's start off by talking a little country music, the opening questions. What were your experiences with country music in the 90s? Is there a specific memory you have tied to this genre?
This is also still, the 90s were a big part of music videos, and as well as, you know, all the rock videos and hip-hop videos that we saw a lot of country videos, man, and CMT was really making it big at that point in time. We had a lot of different experiences and a cool different type of music, and my parents actually used to go to a couple of places down here where we lived called Cadillac Jacks. I don't remember. This is an old school place. And Hillbilly Heaven. So we'd go there, and there's a lot of country music and beer, and they hang out. And, of course, they take their kids and be like, just hang out in the chair, listen to music, and sip on your cherry Coke, dude. Me and your mom, we're going to drink and go out on the dance floor.
It just reminds me of growing up and car rides into town with my parents because, like I've mentioned before, whatever my parents were listening to is what we were listening to. And at the time, when I was younger, I lived maybe 15 minutes outside of, you know, where I went to school.
Well, 20 minutes if you're riding your horse.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to hear, you know, what they were, and they weren't, they listen to everything. I think that's why I have a pretty wide range of music that I like that I think people don't realize and are surprised when I you know bust out a particular genre or singer or whatever, and it, you know, you're the metal guy. Yeah, but I listen to a lot of shit. So the Judds, my mom listened to the Judds a lot. So I knew, like, they have a greatest hits album that they released, and my mom had that on tape, and I actually recently got it on vinyl not too long ago. It's actually one that I'm really happy to have because I could probably sing that whole greatest hits album from front to back because my mom listened to it all the time.
But you do it in a metal voice or normal voice?
No.
Two things strike me from 90s country music. The smiling hat acts like Garth Brooks and Clint Black and these guys who were happy country singers. It was no longer about the stoicism. It was more evocative of pop music and having a good time. Not that 80s country and beyond wasn't, but it was more so leaning towards pop and that faster tone. Also, the emergence of female artists. I think that was important. I believe there was some sort of unwritten rule where radio stations had to play 4 male artists before they played 1 female artist. And that was prominent in country music as well. You had so many talented female artists break through and dominate. And that's why I think 90s country music, it was not only big for, the pop acts, but you had more inclusion and diversity. And I think that was good.
Swear to God, if you sing "Rock Me Mama" like a wagon wheel, I'm gonna get really pissed. I will leave right fucking now, Hootie.
All right, go ahead, Joseph?
No, I was just gonna say what's crazy about that is I don't see. So you can fault me for this if you want, listeners. I don't know too much about today's country, and I don't like today's country. I don't like it at all. I think it's completely different. I just think it's kind of crazy how, like you mentioned, Rand, the '90s female country singers broke out big, and I think they got more respect back then than they do now. To be honest with you, I like their voices better.
Then or now?
Then.
Well, Taylor Swift is very angry with you for that.
She's not a country musician.
Yes, she is what she was.
How does and Joseph, I think you jumped the gun on this. How does modern day country music compare with 90s country music? So
really?
Let me
totally. I didn't even know that at all.
Boy, good jump, good call, Joseph.
So what do you guys say?
How does it compare?
Yeah,
it does not compare.
Compares.
It's not country. I don't think it's. I don't think country is what. And you know what? But people from the country in the 60s and 70s and 80s will say 90s countries isn't country. I guess we're gonna okay, we're a little bit biased about this because when we grew up, but I think today's country sounds too much like it either wants to be rock or they want to be pop. They want to be, and they might sing with a little bit of a twang or whatever, if you want to call it that. You just don't hear the voices, I guess. Everybody kind of sounds the same, and maybe they sound a little bit too rock, and the music's just not. I think today's country music focuses too much on partying, and okay, cool.
Okay, cool. You leave Miranda Lambert out of this, mister. I think I agree with you 1,000,000%. I think today's country is very poppy. I think they're trying to do a lot of commercial type of music. It's very poppy. It's very commercial. I mean, Luke Bryan. I like Luke Bryan. He seems like a really cool dude. I
Butthead
fucking drink. Yeah, but I definitely fucking drink with Luke Bryan. He seems like a really cool dude. But his
tell me that dude doesn't look like Butthead.
His music's very, very poppy, very, very poppy. Yeah, for sure, definitely. But what's the name of the dude married to Gwen Stefani now?
Blake Shelton.
Blake Shelton. I fucking love Blake Shelton. He's a cool dude. I'd drink tequila.
I'd hang with that dude, no doubt. But he's a little old school too.
Yeah, he's got an old schoolness to his music. Like I said, Luke Bryan though is like more of the poppy commercial type of thing, you know what I mean? But I like more of like the old school dude than 80s and 90s. Conway Twitty still fucks my shit up, Randall. I think I love the hair. And I'm not gonna say bouffon or pizzazz or anything like that because Merle Haggard would punch me. But I definitely think he's pretty cool, man.
My take is that every generation complains about the following generation. 90s country and all the hat acts, as I mentioned, and all the women were, of course, being crapped on by the previous generation who thought it was a good idea for John Travolta to play a cowboy, an urban cowboy. By the way, Miguel Nunez Jr., who was more convincing as Joanna Man as Travolta was as a cowboy. Anyway, 90s country, it may have flirted with the pop sound because you heard a lot of it, but modern country is in complete seduction with it. I mean, just like
country,
you said, Joseph.
Country crazy. Sorry.
country crazy.
Shout out, Jesse.
Joanna Man.
You mentioned Joanna Man.
Does that make me man?
90s country music had its detractors because it veered from tradition a bit. That's when we started seeing the evolution. Was that criticism warranted? Do you feel like that criticism was warranted?
Well, I mean, there was definitely a shift and change. It wasn't just, sad, my girl ran away with my dog and now I'm sitting alone in my tractor, that type of bullshit. This was more like you had the more like bar drinking songs, you know what I mean? And in a good way where people wanted to get up and dance. And I think they changed that, the sound was different now. Line dancing was really popular at that point in time. And, country bars were popping up and you didn't want to go and sit at a country bar and listen to Merle Haggard or something very sad where you're, getting lost in a bottle of whiskey. You actually wanted to go and pick up women and go for a dance and have a drink and have a really good time. And I think the music kind of reflected that.
I see the difference. Like, okay, like the times were different. So the music was about, tougher times, I guess. Things weren't so upbeat and peachy in country before, in the times that we were living, you know, before the 90s. I think, I hate to brag, but we did grow up in a great, I think it was a pretty good economic time. I think everybody was having
my lips, no new taxes.
So I think
the original Bush.
Yeah. Bush. Anyway, I think I think, you know, hey, yeah, we were people were living in a more like upbeat time, I guess. I don't know. So yeah. you didn't have to sing about such travesties and hard times, and it's no disrespect to that, you know, that genre and those songs. They're good songs. We love them. You sing about what's going on, and it seemed like everybody, at least, I mean, music was great. Everybody was having a good time. Country was big. Every other genre was huge. I mean, everything was popping. So
I was going to say, I'm going to use a big word for Randall, parallel. The parallels, Randall, between how they go from 80s music, you know, 80s music that's so upbeat and so poppy in the rock genre to 90s grunge, and it's sad and it's, you know, depressing and it brings you down. And then we had that flip from country music where it used to be like 90s grunge in the 70s, you know what I mean, down, and brings you down, and it's sad, and, you know, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, and it fucking hurts to listen to it, but that's the type of song I want to listen to when, you know, shit's going down. To 90s where it started getting more poppy and upbeat. It's like they both did a backflip, like, well, if grunge is doing down on the sorrow, we're going to pick it up a fucking notch and kind of ride the 80s wave. So it's kind of a cool little difference between rock music and country music during the 90s.
Great observation.
You know, I felt like it was the perfect balance. 90s country music was storytelling evolved to be more inclusive. Old school country was very regional and raw. I think the 90s, the genre had it was profiting off, you know, the economic times. You know, it was good fun times. And it's funny because I think about my experiences with country music, and I remember a quick story. I was in high school and my counselor pulled me out of my class because she was talking to everybody about applying to colleges, and at the time I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And she sees my test score. She says, you test really well, but you're not in anything. And she's like, you're not in any extracurricular activities. You're just kind of floating by.
Just hang out in the corner during lunch. You need to get out there,
like
sir.
My so-called life. Anyway, so she says, why don't you get involved in something? So I was taking a wildlife class. And I said, well, you know, I could join the FFA, Future Farmers of America. I was in there for about a month. Didn't get my corduroy jacket. Didn't show any animals. But I will say this.
You did hug a pig.
Those kids were a great time. They had great music playing.
Oh, yeah.
There I was, misanthropic with my grunge look, and I was thinking, I really missed out. I was so wrapped up in all this like painful, hurtful music, and these kids are having the time of their life, and they're dancing, and they're having, you know, a good time. Exactly. So I kind of feel a little like I missed out on a little something. I only stuck around for about a month in that club. But good kids, and they had a great time, and that's when I really started to fall for country music in the 90s because of those individuals. So
we had a few good friends who were in FFA.
Yeah, we had a good amount of friends that were in
FFA,
actually. And our country buddies, and we used to hang out. I mean, we've hung out with them since we were kids, and dude, it's great. It's cool, man. I like it. And then, granted, folks that listen to us, we're from Texas, so we all own a pair of boots. I don't know if Randall does. I don't know if they have enough shine to them or gleam or pizzazz, but they, we all own a pair of cowboy boots. Most of us have cowboy hats. We're around the ranch and countryside. We don't live too far from cows, folks, because it's Texas. So, we have a little bit of country. We have a lot of country influence that comes along with our territory where we live in.
Mm-hmm. We had an aunt and uncle that had a ranch. I spent a lot of time at that ranch, learned how to drive there, feed animals, shovel shit. So, I mean, we know what we're talking about when we're talking about some of this shit. Anyway, last question, guys. Funniest article of clothing worn by 90s country musicians. When you look at the style and the fashion, what's the one thing that says, oh my God, that was horrible?
Okay, so Dwight Yoakam wore the tightest pants any man should ever wear. He's one of my favorite country artists of all time. And I was going to talk about Streets of Bakerfield. I know it came out in 88. It didn't come out. That would have been my pick, by the way, if it was in the 90s. But in the Streets of Bakerfield music video, he's wearing like these really, really tight pants. And he's wearing like one of those belts that the chicks wear with it's just a bunch of buckles. There's no leather. It's just a bunch of buckles tied together, together. And then, then it hangs off their waist like like, you know, half on the top of the waist, half like down the cheek. You know what I mean? If you know what I'm talking about, check out the music video. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy wearing? And then you see all the, you know, that was just I was confused by it, and I wanted to be him, but I didn't want that belt.
I was confused. I'm sorry. I wanted to be him, but I didn't want. I think the overly. How do you describe this shirt? It's the shirt.
The squares, the
Bedazzled?
big squares,
the
Bedazzled.
No, not bedazzled. I think the shirts that have like large stripes. Not,
I know, like the Garth Brooks, like what he wore.
Yeah.
Dude, don't you dare talk bad about that.
It's funny. It's like funny to look back at some of the shit that
90s.
Garth
90s,
wore.
yeah.
He didn't just wear like a plaid button up or something. Like
You wore those striped bright, you know, red and black or blue and black.
And the ones and the shirts, and not just him. There was other musicians, so it's mainly a shirt thing, because we just wore jeans and cowboy boots and cowboy hat. There's nothing wrong with that.
Tight jeans.
So tight jeans, yeah. So and like I think when I look back at some of the men, and I'm sure the women too, wore like a button up shirt.
Sorry.
With it was like denim, and then had that like leather brown patch on top. Like, you know, that's probably what I would look back at and be like, holy shit! Like,
you know,
who would wear that shirt today?
You know who wore that shirt? Jesse Spano had one of those shirts.
Oh yeah, she did.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but she was also in striptease, so we're giving her a pass.
I think of two things. I think of bolo ties because they were pretty popular, and I think of mullets. You had to have a mullet. I mean, it was.
I like bolo tie. The only reason why they had mullets because when they took off their cowboy hats, they were fucking bald. You see Dwight Yoakam without a hat? Not for me. But with the cowboy hat, beautiful man.
All right, guys, we're gonna move forward to our honorable mentions. Let's start off with you, Bob. Who'd you have?
Oh man, if you're talking '90s country, you have to start with one of the biggest bands of the '90s, Brooks and Dunn, Neon Moon. Boots, Good and Boogie, amazing songs. Could have easily been one of my picks. And, I just want to give a quick shout out to Paul McCartney for being that talented. He was in Beatles, he was in Wings, and he was able to fucking do country with Brooks and Dunn. Jesus Christ, again, the man can do it all. If you all look at the cover, he looks exactly like, I don't know if it's Brooks or it's Dunn or whatever the fuck their real names are.
It's Ronnie Dunn.
Huh?
Ronnie Dunn, yes.
Ronnie Dunn looks exactly like Paul McCartney. I don't know. Maybe I haven't had too much to drink, but really, he really does. Tim McGraw, Don't Take the Girl. Very sweet song. I don't want to mention that one because Joseph's going to mention it, so I'm going to leave it out there. Shania Twain, You're Still the One. I don't give a fuck how tough you are, how many tattoos you are. That song gets stuck in your head. You'll be singing that shit and mumbling to yourself all the rest of the day. Alan Jackson, Don't Rock the Jukebox. Great fucking song, man. Makes you want to get up. This is one maybe y'all might have, maybe you might not. John Anderson, Straight Tequila Night. That song is fucking awesome. I don't know if y'all know that song. Y'all like that song?
I've never heard it.
What?
Yeah,
I'd have to hear it. Maybe I've heard it.
It's one of those songs where, like, even my wife, Creative Little Pill, I played it for her earlier, and she was like, "What song is this?" And I played it for her, and she was like, "Oh crap, I know that song. It's a great song."
Okay.
And then you got to mention the King, George Strait.
Yes.
I Cross My Heart. When Did You Stop Loving Me? I mean, George Strait. I mean, as soon as we mentioned this topic, really, and I'm dumb for saying for thinking this, but I was like, I have to pick George Strait. I'm going to pick The Chair. Little did I know, The Chair came out in 1985, so I was off by 5 years. And a lot of his great singles that I wanted to choose, a lot of them were in the 80s or late 80s. So I didn't go with George. I feel very bad about this. Somebody's going to probably punch me in the face when I walk into Walmart or Martin's Feed and Seed or something like that because I didn't choose George Strait, but I thought those two songs were pretty great. What about you, Joe? What do you got?
I also had Neon Moon as well. Brooks and Dunn. I just think that's an awesome song. Yeah. I got Midnight in Montgomery. That's probably one that I remember most when I was a kid. Papa Top Again, great song as well. I love that one. I'm even going to throw in Achy Breaky Heart.
There it is. There you go. Show's over, folks. Listeners, if you like to,
dude, you can't deny that song in the 90s was like.
I have it here written down. That's the one I said. I'm not going to say it because Joseph's going to mention it. That's
exactly I mean, how do you not mention that shit?
Did y'all have to learn to dance when y'all were in PE? Or was that just
I think I did.
No, I did too. Yeah.
You had to learn it, right? Fucking junior high.
We had to learn how to do some kind of dancing, at least in junior high and elementary. I also have I can't not have this on. Hey baby, ¿qué pasó? You gotta have that. I don't know how you don't have the Texas Tornadoes on your list, baby.
Freddie fucking Fender. That's what we call the San Antonio Pledge of Allegiance. What did he say?
National anthem. San Antonio.
National anthem. I have baby, ¿qué pasó? So Freddie Fender was this Tejano country musician that actually lives about 45 minutes from where we live. Probably the most popular man that's come out of South Texas when it comes to that country genre. Fucking amazing stuff in the 70s and 80s, dude. Freddie Fender, good shit. Hey baby, ¿qué pasó? Yeah, dude, great fucking song. I was hoping you'd say that, Joe.
Yeah, of course I did. I also had should have been a cowboy. Sorry,
that's all right.
This weekend.
Hey, fuck you. Can't. I mean, it's kind of country. It's a different form of country, so I gotta mention the charanga again.
You're going off base.
It's his version of country.
All right, let me get to it. So we go. Thunder Rolls, and of course, can't
like a rhinestone cowboy.
No, you can't not mention George Strait, and people probably might get pissed off that we didn't pick George. So I got Across My Heart and When Did You Stop Loving Me?
Yeah, dude.
I would have gone.
It was off the Pure Country album, though. It's like you want to talk about Death Thief, or you want to talk about George Strait. It's a great album for it being an album based off a movie, like a movie soundtrack. I mean, fucking guys, just amazing. George Strait's best country music artist of all time, and we'll say that now so we don't get our ass kicked.
I will say this: one of the first songs that popped in my head when we talked about doing this was "Forever and Ever" by Randy Travis, but it came out in '87. So
yeah,
there's a fine line, of the '80s country that's just as good and or better than the '90s, and like Bob mentioned, Streets of Bakersfield earlier. I mean, it's just fucking good.
Clint Black too. Yeah, I was thinking Clint Black. Clint Black came out, and Clint Black was huge.
He was.
But his best songs, like the ones I wanted to pick, were all 88, 89. I was like, fucking shit. Just missed him by a year or two.
I have a Clint Black song. So going to my picks, by the way, Randy Travis, on the other hand, it's an 80s song, but another great, phenomenal song from him. I started off with Neon Moon. So good. I mean, geez, we all picked it. We all listed it first, ironically enough. Ronnie Dunn, as you mentioned, Bob, had a 78-year-old face and 27-year-old hair. So, I mean, he's doing it right. I went with Any Man of Mine by Shania Twain, and she looks immaculate in this video. Not a fan of her pop stuff, but I like this song, America's Sweetheart, America's Canadian Sweetheart. She walks so Taylor Swift could run. I was watching this video with my wife, and she was telling me that this video was very controversial because the way she dressed in denim, she was showing her abs, and she was wearing this cut off denim, and she was saying at the time, these conservative old white guys who were listening to country and running all the production and the industry were like, hey, this is, and it's very tame by today's standards. I mean, if you see anything that, Pink or Lady Gaga wears by today's standards, very tame, but I mean, great song. Past the Point of Rescue by Hal Ketchum. I didn't pick it because I don't have any arrest warrants. It's a very sort of DWI song. Killing Time by Clint Black. You mentioned Clint Black. I felt that was his best song.
But it was like released the thing is, it was released in '89, but it was like hit it big on the night because it was like late '80. There were so many that are just like on the fence. So
right on the cut.
They should be getting a pass for it.
It's like the decades theory. Like when you think of '80s music really takes off in 1982. '90s music really takes off, '89 sort of.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm with you on that. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100% on that.
How Was I to Know by Reba McEntire, Some Girls Do by Sawyer Brown, Every Light in the House by Trace Adkins. I had You Were Mine by The Chicks. We talked about that in a previous episode. This Kiss, you got to mention Faith Hill. You mentioned a lot of Mexicanos, Joseph, but you didn't mention the one Rick Trevino, Just Enough Rope. Who were you thinking of by the Texas Tornadoes? I have a story about Freddie Fender. So Freddie Fender, I think he had like one major big hit in the
Primo hermano.
He was a true story. He was a friend of my grandfather's on my dad's side, and my dad would say that Freddie Fender had the nastiest, stinkiest feet in the world. So, if you're out there, get him off the water tower. Anyway, and then my last two, If I Know Me by George Strait. You mentioned he was in a movie called Pure Country. One of the best country singers, if not the best country singer ever lived. One of the worst actors that ever lived too, because he was terrible in Pure Country. It launched Kyle Chandler's career, but George Strait was pretty bad. That's why he never acted in another movie. And then
I think it was more of the ponytail.
And then the last one, I have to mention "With My Baby Tonight" by Double J Jeff Jarrett.
Oh,
really
shit.
saying right. It's a good song. "With My Baby Tonight." Check it out.
Oh,
he didn't sing it.
Sing it, cabrón.
Who really sang it though? Do you know?
Brian James, the Road Dog. Yeah, really sang it.
Road Dog, Jesse James, sir.
That's right. He did. That's right. I forgot. And then he ended up being a wrestler. Anyway.
So
Wrong topic.
We're gonna go on with our picks. Bob, you're up first. What do you have for best '90s country song?
It always seems when you call me out, I just took a big swig of whiskey. I'm like, fucking shit, I gotta swallow this quick. That's a joke there, but I'm not going to go there. How can you not go? I'm going 1990. And the king of 90s country music is, of course, Garth Brooks. I went with Friends in Low Places off the No Fences album. This is the fucking 90s country music anthem, man. You can go to any bar, any country bar in America during the 90s, during the 2000s, even these fucking today, tomorrow, this weekend. And if at midnight they play Friends in Low Places, everyone at that bar is ordering another round and they're singing along because everybody knows the words. Everybody sings along. This is the country music anthem. Like I said, in the 90s, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing Garth Brooks on a poster and a concert. His music was all over the radio, and he's had multiple hits. I mean, he even did an album where he was like an alias, right, of somebody else, where he's putting out music. This kid was just amazing, and you know, you got to give him full credit for really taking over the 90s. I think he's a great dude, and I think there's some really great songs that we might hear about later on today, but Friends in Low Places is that song. It's the bar anthem. It's the one you want to drink to. It's the one you want to smile to. It's the one you want to cheers to. It's the one you want to sing with your friends. It doesn't make you cry. It makes you laugh. It makes you smile. And, you know, if you have ever been hurt, it's like, fuck that. Who cares? You know, I'm with my friends and let's have a good time. It's that feel-good song, man. And I think that it's the number one song. I think it kicked off the 90s perfectly because it came out in 1990. And a funny story about it, speaking of which, you know, this was New Year's Eve 2005. Joseph, I think you know what I'm talking about. I think, Randall, I think you were there as well. You know, we were drinking and we had already celebrated New Year's, and it was about 1:30 in the morning, and somebody decided to play this song on this is back in the day, folks. So we had a CD player. So we put it on the CD player, put it on full blast, and we were having this big New Year's Eve bash at my house. And as soon as the song came on, everybody started singing. And we didn't just sing the opening. We didn't just sing the chorus. We sang the whole fucking thing, all 4.5 minutes of it or whatever it is. Everybody nice and loud and cheering and hugging and having a good time. And I think that's what this song represents. This song was the change from the 90s. It was no longer the sad stuff. It was no longer my wife left me and let me crawl into a bottle and be sad. This was, my wife may have married somebody else, but fuck her. She can kiss my ass. I'm going to show up at her wedding and I'm going to have a really good time doing it. Who gives a shit? It was the Who Gives a Shit song of the 90s. So I think this was the big transition in 90s country music. I think this ushered the way for other artists to have a good time while they're making music. And I think it's really untouchable because of those two reasons. What do y'all think about it?
Let me start by saying, for a while, I hated this song. Okay, and I made that very, very well known.
True story.
Yes, Bob knows. I hated this song so bad. My hatred for the song was because it had been well overplayed. We at some time, I don't know how long ago, like Bob mentioned, getting together, hanging out. We hung out a few too many times. Not that that's a bad thing, hanging out a few too many times, but those few too many times this song was played like a lot, and I just couldn't take it anymore. To be fair, it's been a while since I've been in a situation where I was out and this song might get played. So right now I don't hate it. I actually acknowledge its place in history. I think this is going to be, when you ask people to give to try to come up with a pick or think real quick off the top of their head, this song is probably going to be the song that that's going to come to their head. They're going to probably say it's very well known. Of course, Garth Brooks is some might say, you know, he was 90s country. Horrible shirts aside, I think there was better musicians than him, but I don't disagree with his fucking impact on 90s country. I have said this. I think this song, Bob, it's this, I have to admit, this is a song that if you and me are ever in a beer fest situation, and by beer fest situation, I mean, I've said this, if you've seen beer fest, there's this part in the beginning of the movie where they're at Oktoberfest and they're drinking beer, and many people from different countries are singing beloved drinking songs of their country. And at one point in the movie, they finally pass it to the Americans, and the Americans unfortunately sing 99 bottles of beer on the wall. And everybody gets pissed. So I've told Bob, I go, Bob, if we're ever in a fucking beer fest situation, we ever go to Germany where Oktoberfest and fucking people are just singing drinking songs of their countries and they point it to us, I know what has to be done. Somebody has to start, blame it all on my roots. It has to happen. Like I admit, like this is going to be the fucking song that we have to sing in that situation. So very, very popular song. Very, very big pick. That sounded weird.
What'd you say?
What? I'm gonna edit.
I'm gonna spit out my whiskey there. I was about to take a sip and I was like, "What? You see what I said?"
More like friends in hung low places.
It said you was hung, and they was right.
Randy's got one ready to go every night. Every time we do this, he's got a dad joke or
dad
something.
Jokes are us.
But yeah, man, this is a major pick, major song. Clearly one of the most recognized and memorable of the decade. It's a hard argue. Like I said, I don't hate it right now, but if it's overplayed, then I can get really mad. Randy?
You know, this song is to country what Smells Like Teen Spirit was to rock. And I like Smells Like Teen Spirit. The commercialism and the ubiquity, you know, sort of had, I think, lost the luster and the charm of the song. And you're right, Joseph. This song was very commercialized. It was very overplayed. And I think it kind of lost its, I'm going to use that word again, pizzazz. But it was, you can't deny the impact. Bob, I remember being at your house for 2005 New Year's.
You sang along, fucker. That's why I remember this. That's why I brought up the memory, because both of y'all sang along, so I have you all by the short and curlies.
I think I was in the front yard crying, calling an ex-girlfriend, so I don't know. New Year, new me. I don't think I was a part of that. Anyway, the intro, the 4-note arpeggio, once you play that, it's over. The crowd is going absolutely ape shit. So a little history. Mark Chestnut recorded a more down-tempo version of this song almost a year before Garth Brooks did. Garth Brooks had it on hold first, but it was pitched to Chestnut when he didn't record it fast enough, Garth Brooks claimed the song back. So how do you think Mark Chestnut feels? I mean, he got kicked in the chestnuts once he saw all the fame that this song, you know, established. You got to look at Garth Brooks' catalog in the 90s. 17 number one country hits for Garth in the 90s. And my argument is that this is definitely one of his best songs, but it's not his best song. But I do think it's a well-written story. Guy shows up at his ex's engagement party, tells her that, you know, she was absolutely right. It's, you know, a little turn of the tables there. It's quintessential honky tonk. Fun trivia, at the 3:40 mark in the song, you could hear somebody yell, "Push Maria," or "Push Marie." While this song was being recorded, one of the band members' wife was going into labor and he wasn't able to make it on time for the recording. So that little, you know, trademark was a tribute to his wife and kid. It's a fun drinking song. It's a fun karaoke song. You're absolutely right. It's a drinking anthem. It cemented Garth's legacy in country music, and not bad for a guy who grew up on Kiss and Led Zeppelin. My big complaint is that Garth Brooks used a song about lowlives and drunkards to appease his well-to-do suburbanite fans. We are
talking about country here.
People who can run in the same circles as Garth Brooks fans wouldn't be caught dead in a shitty bar like the Oasis. Anyway, Brooks told a reporter from USA Today in October 1990, when the song was still at its chart peak, that he received letters from high school students saying that they wanted to use Friends in Low Places as their class song, only to have it opposed by the principals because the song is about escaping and drinking. Brooks agreed with the principals and said, "We've had a lot of fun with this song, but it's nothing to base your values on." And he's right. Famous author, one of my favorites, Chuck Klosterman, wrote that Garth Brooks was filling some voids Bruce Springsteen songs left us, you know, except with a little less sincerity and a little better understanding of who his audience was. So perfect song for the audience that he was catering to. The song was held for him. He didn't think enough of it, or he was coaxed or talking into it. So that's my big argument, is that Garth Brooks heard this song. He probably heard the stripped down version and said, you know what? Not my song. I'm sure his his agents, his producer said, you need a hit. You have to record this song. So I think he was kind of coaxed into it. So I factor that. And although it's a huge hit, it's fun. I think the song could have been done by a number of artists. And Garth Brooks sort of hit his stride with a blue collar audience. He locked them in and he wrote this rocket ship. I'm not saying it was disingenuous, but his ballads, I think, were much better, much more sincere. And I think they weren't as gimmicky or as exposing as Friends in Low Places. He caught the wave of a song that was going to be huge no matter who sang it. But I also think the sincerity and the kind of like, hey, I'm forced to do this song in this arrangement, but he got lucky. And that's my biggest complaint.
Oh, man. Well, I think if you look at the 90s in general for 90s country music, and we talked about it at the beginning, 90s country music was fun. It's something you wanted to dance to, something you wanted to drink to. It wasn't so sad and down the dirt, like we talked about Merle Haggard in Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. So I think he was like, he ushered in this new era of country music that became really, really popular. And we'll see with other picks and all the honorable mentions how popular this type of country music was. So I don't know if he was coaxed into it. I think he was the originator. I think he was the one that sparked this new style of country music. And if he wasn't the originator, the motherfucker took it mainstream. So I think he did a great job with that. And, everybody loves those, sad, tearjerker country songs. We all do. I love them. They're my favorite out of any sort of type of country song. But I think this song just hit, man. And I think it was a song of the 90s because it was the sound of 90s country music.
You have to give Garth Brooks credit for taking the song and elevating. He's even added verses to it. I mean, when he performs it in concert, I mean, he's amazing. You could watch any concert on YouTube. This guy gives his heart and soul to the crowd. And when this song comes on, he knows that he's got him wrapped around his finger and everybody loves it. Is it a great song? Absolutely. Did it establish 90s country as a mainstream genre? Yes. Is it his best song? Is it the best country song? That's to be debated. So we'll go on to our next pick.
Scoreboard.
Joseph, what do you got for us?
One of the earliest songs I can remember as far as, country in the 90s is Chattahoochee by Alan Jackson. I had just turned 8 years old when the song was released, but I wasn't a stranger to Alan Jackson. For some reason, my mother and father played his music more than any other country musician at the time. Gee, I wonder why. I was already familiar with Don't Rock the Jukebox and specifically Midnight in Montgomery. I mentioned that I mentioned that song in my honorable mentions. I think that was one of my father's favorite songs at the time. So I heard that one a lot. And I really love that song too. I don't want to, it's a ballad. It's not a love ballad, but it's a good fucking song. Anyway, Chattahoochee is the one that I feel best suits this topic. It was released in May of 93, like I said, which means it turns 30 years old this year. It's got a great rhythmic sound. It's up tempo. It's perfect for, the lay of the land at the time. When we think, or at least when I think, 90s country, I think, line dances. I think square dance, the two-step, the cowboy cha-cha, all these, dances. And that's what people wanted to do in the 90s. People, we were happy. We talked about it earlier. The music was more up-tempo. And sure, there's ballads and there's some love songs and whatnot. But I think everybody was happy and everybody was up and, going. So, and this song to me is that. This is your jam for all those dances. Is it repetitive? Sure. But who gives a fuck? It sounds good. There's at least two different, verses, so I'm good. He sings two different verses before he, repeats a lot of shit. I'm fine with that. Its lyric content is nothing to brag about. Jackson said it was a song about having fun and growing up and coming of age, in a small town, which really applies to anyone across the country, not just, the Chattahoochee. That does. We're all young. We come just
not that young.
When we were growing up and this song came out, where we live, you still can't really call this area a big town, but it's definitely not bigger than what it was. Another thing about this song and Alan Jackson in particular is his voice. It's like butter. It's smooth. It fits the sound and the style of the time. You know what I mean? If there's a Rushmore of country voices in the 90s, he's on it. For me, it's Rushmore of country voices. I mean, three of them are obviously Alan Jackson, Travis, and of course George Strait. This guy's on it. His voice it goes perfectly. I don't know. There's something about it. Just screams 90s country to me. It's a simple song, I know, but like I said, it's never going to go out of style. And I think that its legacy is cemented for this topic. I'm not trying to brag, but what a kick-ass video. I mean, hanging out by the river and going water skiing in a cowboy hat and jeans and a vest, wearing the Dallas Cowboy jersey he was wearing. I believe it was a Herschel Walker jersey, and he's kind of out there nowadays, but that's still a Cowboy jersey, so it was fucking cool with me, just 10 times better. Anyway, that's my pick, guys. What you got?
You had mentioned, Joseph, that, these Mount Rushmore of country singers. I'm kind of disappointed you didn't say Porter Wagner, but that's okay. So anyway, fun listen. Gets people moving. It's a song that's fast, 175 beats per minute. However, this is exactly what you don't want on your Google search. A word that you're unsure what it means in the last, couple letters spells hoochie. So I'm not too sure. I know it's about the Chattahoochee River, but the song title with the accent, it sounds a little derogatory to me. I don't know. But anyway, even Waylon Jennings asked, what the hell is a Chattahoochee? So I thought that was funny. So can we dissect?
It's a river.
Can we dissect the first
kind of river?
Can we dissect the first two lines of this song? Well, way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. Yonder, of course, is country for way the fuck over there. Okay, it gets hotter than a hoochie coochie. Hoochie coochie. Is that what I think it means? This is supposed to be a family-friendly song, and he's singing about what I don't know what
Who said family friendly? I don't see no kids.
I'm gonna let him go. I'm sorry.
Listen. At least the Two Live crew waited for the song's chorus to be this nasty. Anyway, this sounds like it's supposed to be a family-friendly song, but kids who were born out of wedlock are singing and dancing to this song at their mother's third wedding. So I don't know what hoochie coochie is supposed to be. Can somebody tell me? Because I think I know, but can somebody tell me what it means?
If you think you know, you don't really know, bro.
And my only response to that before you continue is, what you got against hoochie coochie, man? That's all.
I just want some clarification before I.
Because hoochie coocie's hurt him in the past. He's not sure if he wants it anymore.
So there's another verse. Well, we fogged up the windows in my old Chevy. I was willing, but she wasn't ready. So I settled for a burger and a grape snow cone. I dropped her off early, but I didn't go home. Grape snow cone.
The munchies.
It has to be code for something. I don't know. But anyway, this video leaves a lot to be desired. Alan Jackson is water skiing in his ripped jeans, and actually he was doing the water ski. He did all the scenes except for the flip. The flip was a stunt man, but he did all the rest.
Sissy.
The kids in this video, they definitely grew up to storm the Capitol on January the 6th. At least the ones that they look like they were chasing Forrest Gump in this video. Anyway, there's a part in this video where these boys stop short of running over a turtle. They get out of the car and start hanging around with the turtle, offering it food and whatnot. These slack-jawed misfits did something to that turtle, and I'm sure it involved fireworks being played somewhere. I God knows what. Anyway, it's a fun down-home song. Alan Jackson has the mustache. He has the mullet. He's incredibly fast-paced. We talked about Achy Breaky Heart, and yes, I had mentioned that song as the best guilty pleasure song in one of our episodes in November of 2021. This is also, to me, a guilty pleasure song because it's fun to listen to. I wouldn't call it the best because I think the outreach falls a little short. He's pushing the schema of relatability, but it's very exclusive to people who date their cousins. No. It doesn't sound quite like the crossover power. It doesn't, perambulate like songs about the way experience should. I'll give you an example. Let's take a song about an experience. Like Ice Cube's It Was a Good Day. I've never experienced the things Ice Cube has in that video, except maybe messing around and getting a triple-double. But I relate more to that song.
No way that happened.
I feel more to closer to that song. And Alan Jackson's singing about this experience that he has, an experience that everybody has, and the relatability. I just don't relate to this song. I think it's just beyond me. But of course, this is a very and it sounds very like Cajun also. But I guess he's targeting a very specific audience. What do you think, Bob?
Well, that's what happens when you only go to FFA for 1 month. You can't relate to this shit, okay? Okay, sir, that's your fault. That's your shortcoming. I just want to throw that out there. No, I think that this is a very feel-good, fun song. Again, this is the new style of 90s country music. It's a little more upbeat. It's a little more poppy. People sing along. It's about having fun. It's about drinking. It's obviously about smoking. It's obviously about hoochie coochie. I mean, it's just such a great song, but it's a feel-good song. It's a fun song. Is it the best song of the 90s? Maybe. I'll give you a maybe, man. I think that Alan Jackson had this one. Don't Rock the Jukebox is so fucking fun, and it's so country that I think if you had chosen that pick, Joseph, there would be zero argument for me because that one feels so. There's nothing really poppy about it. It's very country. It's just upbeat country, and it kind of fits that mode like so perfectly. Chattahoochee is so fucking fun, dude, and the puns and the double entendres and the double meanings and shit like that of what it could be and what it is and what it's not and whatever. It's just a river my ass. I think it's so great, dude. And I'm not gonna say anything bad about the song because when you chose this song, I was like, motherfucker, that's a great pick. I love this song. I think it's very fun. If we're drinking and we're let's put on some country music. That's the first fucking song or one of the first fucking songs I want to listen to because it kind of gets you in the mode and it pumps you up. I don't know. I can't say that it's the best 90s country song. I just know it's a very fun and it's a drinking song of the 90s.
I don't hate this song, Joseph. I really don't. I think it's
saying you did.
I think the only person that would hate this song is Ned Beatty in Deliverance. Other than that, I think everybody else thinks it's a pretty good song. We're gonna go on to my pick. I picked The Dance by Garth Brooks. Of course, Garth Brooks dominated the 90s, so he's worth talking about twice. It's hard to defend our boy Garth when he doesn't allow his music to stream. So it's hard to find him on Spotify and Apple. That's a decision he's made. This song was honored as both the 1990 Song of the Year and Video of the Year by the Academy of Country Music. And although he loved this song, Brooks was hesitant about recording it because he didn't think it sounded country enough. His producer, Alan Reynolds, gave him the push that he needed, and he said, you don't cut this song, it will be the biggest mistake of your life. This is going to be your biggest hit, I guarantee you. He makes it sound more country, and it's just a massive hit. I'm going with this one because it's authentic and it's sincere. Just about anyone can relate to this song. You could play it in so many, it could be a funeral song, it could be a heartbreak song, it could be a song you're listening to just because you've had a shitty day and you need that companionship of music. In a 1994 Playboy interview, I only brought that issue for the Lorne Michaels interview, by the way. Anyway, Brooks said, unless I am totally surprised, the dance will be the greatest success. It'll be the greatest success I'll ever have as a song. I'll go to my grave with the dance. It'll probably be my favorite song forever. It's almost genre defiant, but it's undeniably soulful. And if you read the YouTube comments, go watch the video. It means so much to so many people and the people they've lost and the heartbreak they've gone through. I think the levity and the weight this song holds, it leaves a stinger in your skin. What's even more genius about this song is that it double dips. Brooks explains that this song was written with a double meaning, both as a love song about the end of a passionate relationship and a story of someone dying because something he believes in, is gone after a moment of glory. He took this little song written by Tony Arata, who was this little known musician, and gave it the stage that it deserves. I think this is a beautiful song. I think that we think so much about country music in the 90s being so upbeat and so fun that I think the ballads is where it's at. When I was listening to the songs we were reviewing for this show, I felt myself relating more towards the ballads and the emotional song. And maybe it has something to do with me being that age during the 90s and relating to it more, having that life experience. But this song just stuck with me. What do you guys think?
You know what, man? Why are you the way that you are, man? Why can't you ever just be happy and pick a good song?
Yeah. I know y'all chose upbeat songs that make you happy. I want to cry in the corner.
Look, is it okay? It's Garth Brooks, so obviously we've already kind of talked about, this. He's either the greatest, or he is 90s country, or he's just up there with somebody else. For the most part, I think people are going to say he is 90s country. I mean, he had a lot of hits. He knew what to do. I don't fault any country musician for doing ballads or love songs. Like I mentioned in mine, it's not a love song, but it is a slower song. It's the ballad. Midnight on Montgomery is a great fucking song. I love that song. I don't think that the lyrical content of any of these songs matter. As long as they're not, anything crazy. I understand this is a very emotional song, but to me, it's all I can say is when I think 90s country,
How many countries?
I think the good time, the dance, I don't want to say party, but yeah, party. But I think 90s parties were different than what today is and what today's country parties would be. So I'm thinking, and Bob's is a good. It's not a you can kind of slow dance to it, but not like a ballad slow dance to Bob's pick. You can definitely move and groove with mine, and I know you can slow dance to this, but to me,
but you cry though.
we thought we were gonna be together forever on the dance floor. Anyway, no, I mean, it's not his best song to me, and it's not his best song of the '90s. If I'm gonna pick a Garth Brooks song of the '90s, it would probably be Bob's selection.
Thank you, sir.
I'm thinking more of I'm looking at this more in the terms of getting up and having a good time, and that's how I always view many of the country hits. I know there's ballads that are hits, I know that, but I look at this more of get moving and grooving. Like I mentioned when I was talking about mine, the line dances, the square dances, and things like that. So I don't pick this one over Bob's pick. I don't.
Oh shit! Thank you for that endorsement.
Is it better than Thunder Rose?
No, I would rather hear Thunder Rose. I would rather hear Thunder Rose. Thank you for reminding me of that. I wanted to say, Randy, if you had gone with Thunder Rose, I would have been like, it's a ballad, but it's got some, I don't know.
They want you to take the roles.
I'd pick Thunder Rose over this one.
Let me just start by saying, sometimes late at night, Garth Brooks has put out some just amazing music in the late 80s and early 90s. And again, George Strait is the king of Texas country and the king of country music. I think he's just the best of all time. He's amazing. But Garth Brooks really dominated the early part of the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and he was just phenomenal. And this song is phenomenal. But, if we're going to go with a ballad, and we're just going to go strictly Garth Brooks and the ballad, my pick definitely is If Tomorrow Never Comes.
I think that was song. 80s though.
Yeah, it came out in 89.
Yeah.
It was released at the end of 89, but it still hit number 1 in the 90s, and I think the American Country Awards voted it like in 91 as the best country song so far of the 90s. So it's on the cusp, and I want to mention that. And I know it's 89. It was released, I think, in September of 89. If I'm going to go with a ballad from Garth Brooks, I think I'm going to go with this specific song, If Tomorrow Never Comes. That's a song that really connects to me. And you did mention that Friends in Low Places seemed a little coerced and seemed a little like he didn't want to do it, but you should do it. He's pushed by producers. But that's the exact same thing you said with this song, The Dance. He was pushed and he was coerced and he was coaxed into doing the song, and producer said, this is the one you don't want to miss out on, and okay, fuck it, I'll do it. Ended up being a big song. But If Tomorrow Never Comes, Garth Brooks himself that says, that's my signature song. If he's going to be remembered by a song, that's his signature. It might not be his most popular. It might not be his biggest seller. It might not have been a number 1 hit, but he said, you know what? That's my signature song. And it reminds him of his mortality. It reminds him if, he has his daughters. He wrote it about his daughters and his wife. And he heard a story about somebody dying. And he's like, shit, if I were to die, how would my daughter feel? How would my wife feel? What would happen to them? So it really inspired him to write this song. So I'm going to listen to one of these ballad songs, one of these heartbreaking songs, one of these songs that really touch your heart and, bring a tear to your eye. I'm listening to If Tomorrow Never Comes because that song really, really affects me. The dance, it's a good song. It really, 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 really is a great song. But as far as ballads and as far as having an effect on me personally or having an effect on something that makes you hurt, like Walked on Water by who was it? Not Randy. Was it Randy Travis? Yeah, by Randy Travis. Okay, sorry. Yeah, but if you're talking about Walked on Water by Randy Travis, there's these real ballads that really hurt you and affect you personally. If Tomorrow Never Comes is one of those songs that just has a great effect on me, that makes me hurt, that makes me feel like Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain by Willie Nelson. The dance it's a great fucking song, and I will not deny it's not a great song, but it doesn't hurt me or make me feel good. Like If Tomorrow Never Comes. Go ahead. Let's hear about it. Randy's shaking his head, and he's already crying. Let's hear it.
No, If Tomorrow Never Comes is a great ballad. It was released in August of 1989. Now, the award it won in 1991 was named Favorite Country Single. So they weren't going year by year when he got that award. They were just saying Favorite Country Single of all time or whatever they were voting on, and I will say this, you were talking about coercion. Was he coaxed into, so there was a difference between the coercion in Friends in Low Places versus the coercion in The Dance. Friends in Low Places, he thought the song wasn't going to hit and he just shelved the song, didn't think enough about it. The Dance, on the other hand, he wasn't really saying, you know what, I'm going to shelf it because because I don't think the song was big enough. He thought the song was bigger than him. So it's a little twist in those two matters. There's a difference between his attitude towards Friends in Low Places versus his attitude towards the dance. So I just wanted to make that point.
And I understand your pick, Rand. I know it's a huge song. It is. It's one of his biggest hits of many hits. If we're gonna do a best sad, whatever, or most emotional, whatever topic, then you're gonna win. Like, that's a hell of a fucking song. I'm gonna think more of, like I said, of how I feel and how I view 90s country. I would have a close second behind probably Friends in Low Places for me would also be Rodeo. I think that's a good fucking song. That's a good Garth Brooks song as well. And it just kind of, it adds to him and his legacy of, hits in the 90s and possibly being the king of 90s country, even though he may not be the best country singer. I know we've already said, it's George Strait because we're Texas and that's the way it is. But this guy, for ballads, I would have gone with Thunder Rolls. I think that's a better song. I think it's got some good story too and whatnot.
We talk about the state of modern country music. There's some good artists out there. We got Chris Stapleton, Cody Jinks, Sturgill Simpson. There's some really good artists out there.
Sturgill reminds me of the old school. So
yeah.
That's that. Yeah, you're right.
Cody Jinks is cool as shit, though. He has a cool voice, man. Cody Jinks.
Yeah. So we still got great country out there, but guys, your final words on, and you can talk about modern country or 90s country music. What are your final thoughts?
I think that this era of country, like I've said in the beginning, was so good, so big, so popular, that it's never going to go away. We were, like Bob mentioned, I don't think he mentioned it while we were recording, but he mentioned it before. We were listening to these songs Saturday night to get more inspiration, get our arguments in order, talk about things to drink, and they're good songs to this day. And like I said, you can go to a country bar where they dance and you can play these songs. And I know there's newer musicians and country artists, but these songs will never go out of style. People are still going to get up and still enjoy them just like we did. Before I pass it on, I just want to say, give a shout out to Jesse, our friend Jesse, an avid listener and friend. His pick was Thunder Rolls. So I asked him to, tell me what he would have picked. And he said that. And of course, also I talked to our Canadian friends. I was trying to talk to both of them, but I think I was only able to talk to Steffi. I wanted to hear her opinion because, Canadian Shania Twain, Randy mentioned Shania Twain in some of his honorable mentions. She said, though, that she would probably have to agree that it was Friends in Low Places, but of course she's Canadian. They're Canadian. She says that Feel Like a Woman, when that song comes on, they lose it. So those are their picks. I just wanted to give them a shout out. And this is a very popular topic. A lot of people got excited when we were talking about doing this.
I really do dig Cody Jinks and his sound. Joseph, wasn't he like a metal singer beforehand, before he got into country? Fuck
yes, he was.
Joseph's big on him. Now I'm going to talk about somebody that Joseph's not big on, and that's Chris Stapleton. Joseph is not a big fan of Chris Stapleton, but I'm a really big fan of Chris Stapleton and his music. And not his last album. I thought the single he put out with Justin Timberlake was really good. Say Something. I thought that was fucking amazing. But there's this song, if you like Randy Travis, He Walked on Water, if you like that old school Randy, this is shout out to you. This is probably in particular for you. Chris Stapleton does a song called Daddy Doesn't Pray Anymore. And if you're feeling like crying at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a fucking Wednesday, that is the goddamn song that you should listen to. It's a very heartbreaking and touching song. It's a kind of song that's a throwback to like the 60s and 70s. It's a Willie Nelson heartbreaker. It's a Merle Haggard. It's a song that makes you feel. It's a song that makes you hurt very badly. So if you listen to it and then you hate yourself afterwards and you hate me afterwards, I apologize ahead of time. But that's one of those songs, like Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain fucks me up, man. That song just really hurts me. It's such a great and like perfect song. So that's one of the songs, man. Chris Stapleton, whether you like him, whether you hate him, whatever, that song in particular is just, it's a heartbreaker.
I love the hypocrisy of you guys shitting on my pick and then going and railing off all these hurtful, emotional songs.
Hey, we're not talking 90s country. We're talking 90s country. We wanted to drink Jack Daniels and fucking two-step and and find a chick that we want to dance with. Nowadays we're fucking 40 years old, and the mortality. I mean, like, we're seeing the end of days. We know exactly what life's about, so we're a little more like, Daddy doesn't pray anymore, and fucking Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. But I mean, in the 90s, I wanted to fucking party.
As we're wrapping up, any movie recommendations, TV shows? Could I start off, or Bob, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I want to mention two quick things. I just watched Elvis, and it was amazing. Austin Butler, I think. Well, I mean, I haven't seen Brendan Fraser in The Whale. I haven't seen Colin Farrell in The Banshees of Inisherin. So I don't know, but he was tremendous. I learned so much about Elvis. Obviously, it's a one-sided sort of story, but Elvis was like really screwed up. I mean, his manager like wrote him and made him perform in Vegas for the last 5 years of his life. He couldn't tour worldwide. He was so hopped up on drugs and miserable, and it really brought a human element to Elvis. Of course, if you know the story, Priscilla Presley and the family got the rights back in the 80s. And even though Elvis, his estate was broke, they finally wrangled the estate back from Tom Parker. And, the rest is history. But man, Elvis was just such a tragic figure. I've never saw him in that light. So kudos to Austin Butler. By the way, if they made a modern day urban cowboy, they'd probably cast him in the John Travolta role, but he really banged it out. And the last thing I want to mention is I watched that 90s show, and I've seen about 4 episodes. Wasn't really big on the first episode. Of course, we grew up in the 90s. These kids are about my age. I was around that age. It was the summer of 95. I'm happy that they didn't use like the grunge aesthetic, because that was post grunge. No, and of course it's the summer, so nobody's wearing flannel, but it was really carried by Red and Kitty, which it should. It was nice seeing them back. They have great chemistry. They're very funny. The show kind of grew on me. I don't know if the younger actors have the star power that the kids from the 70s had. They brought in some things. Kevin Smith, The Mall, Blockbuster. There were some things there that brought back some nostalgia. What about you guys?
Joseph, talk about that 90s show, because I know Joseph watched it and he was like, no.
I didn't. I haven't watched it.
Oh, so who was it? It was Jesse, one of our friends, avid listeners. He was like, he wanted to like it. He was really into it, and he was like, "No, this isn't. No.
It's not the 70s show."
Yeah. He couldn't really relate to it, man. The show I've been watching, and I saw Velma. Have you all seen Velma yet on HBO Max?
No.
It's kind of a trip. It's like a Scooby Doo spin-off with Velma, and it's kind of a trip. But the one show I wanted to talk about is The Last of Us. Have y'all seen The Last of Us?
No.
I've played the video games.
Yeah, you play the video games, so it's based off the video games.
And they're great video games.
Yeah, dude, it's really cool. I saw the first 2 episodes, and it's pretty fucking awesome. So
that's fantastic.
If there is a show that I could recommend, like, hey, dude, go check out The Last of Us. Pretty cool, post-apocalyptic, virus, people turning it. It's just fucked up, and you got to see it, dude. First episode had me like, holy shit, and the second episode has me hooked. So that's a really, really, that's one you got to check out.
I'll add to that quickly, just as somebody who's played both Part 1 and Part 2 multiple times, and I'm glad to hear you say that, Bob. And I've actually heard too that as many times as I've played those games, I've thought that yes, they're great games, but their story is really awesome. They're 2 great stories, and it's a lot of content. So if they're doing half as good as the story in the actual game, which I've heard they're doing, then there should be plenty, at least a few seasons, because I mean they're long stories in the game, so I don't know. They're obvious. I don't think they're gonna completely, do one whole game in one season. So I think they can spread it out real nicely. And if you like it, and a lot of people like it, then it should be around at least for a while. I will say the girl, I believe it was Jenna, also said too. I was getting picks from everybody. She agreed with Bob, Garth Brooks, and
You're welcome.
And I Like It, I Love It by Tim McGraw. So I mean, there's a lot of great songs, man. A lot of great songs from the 90s. This was like a really fun topic, and it was a lot of fun listening to these songs again.
By the way, I had a great time in the 90s. Don't let my pick fool you. I had a great, happy time in the 90s. And before
I know we were there.
You wear flannel. You did wear flannel.
I did wear a lot of flannel, and I shouldn't have. I just want to say congratulations, Joseph. You reminded me, our friends Jen and Danielle at the Did Not Need to Know podcast, they got published in an article. I believe the magazine's called Women Who Podcast. They're featured on the January edition. Check it out. We get a mention too, so thank you for that. And very happy and excited about their progress and the exposure they're getting from the article. So we're happy for them.
And you know what's also cool? We're just releasing our new store with a lot of different merch. If y'all are interested, we have coffee mugs, we have sweatshirts, some t-shirts, we have pint glasses, we have stickers. We should be releasing it tomorrow. We'll be making some we'll send you all a link. We'll post it on our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. So if anybody's interested for some reason that you want to have some cool Formidable Opponents merch, we're going to be posting it up tomorrow. So if you want to check that out, dude, that'd be really cool. We're not going to become millionaires, folks, if you buy a pint glass, you buy a sweater, making like $2 a pop after each one. It's really not about that. It's about, if you want to buy something and wear it around and just spread the word, that'd be really cool. We have some cool stickers. We have some cool sweatshirts. So check it out. We'll be posting it up probably, what's today? Today's Tuesday? Probably be posting it up like Wednesday or Thursday, which is the 25th, 26th, around the January 25th, 26th. So check it out, guys. If you're interested, that'd be really cool.
Yes, and special thanks to Creative Little Pill who helped set up this shop. We do have the merchandise link available on our link tree on our Instagram. However, we'll be featuring the things we'll be selling: hoodies, pint glasses, coffee mugs, t-shirts, you name it. We got it up there. So if you want to support the show, you want to go out there and wear a cool hoodie, we got those things available for you.
And check out her store as well, the incredible Creative Little Pill. Awesome. Go check out her store, and we thank her very much. If you like any of our merch, it's because she's fucking awesome at what she does for us. Thank you.
Yeah, she's great. And you know what? We want to throw this out there for folks. We want to offer something back. If you buy 3 different items from us, we want to give you something back. So if you want to have a 5-minute conversation, Joseph's out here. Joseph, smile. Come on, Joseph. If you want to talk to any one of us 3, and I'm going to give you this. I don't throw Joseph under the bus. If you buy 3 different items from us, you will win a 5-minute conversation. I don't know why you'd want to talk to us, but you can. A 5-minute phone call from one of us. And you can talk about whatever you want. Politics, music, favorite treats, Texas. Randall will talk about FFA, and he'll use big words if you want. Whatever you want, folks. Just let us know. If you buy 3 things from us, it's going to be one bundle. You can't just buy like 3 different things. If you buy 3 things from us, we'll throw in a little 3-minute to 5-minute little conversation on the phone. If you buy 10 things, all of us will FaceTime with you and send you happy birthday wishes, okay? So just throwing that out there, folks. If you buy some of our stuff.
If you buy 12 items, I'll slow dance the dance with you at some point at your wedding in front of your husband.
If you buy 13 items, we'll prevent him from slow dancing with you.
Excellent. That's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what your all-time favorite 90s country song is. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at all forms of social media. Just search for Formidable Opponents. And we want to thank, again, Creative Little Pill for the great artwork. Please follow her on Instagram at Creative Little Pill. Please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. That really helps us out. And join us next episode as we'll discuss the best 90s hip-hop/rap songs. So for Bob and Joseph, I'm Randall. We'll see you all next week, partners.
Partner. So long, partner.
Exactly what I thought.
Yeehaw!
Hank's always saying that.